how do we create that mesh that creates a more vibrant startup ecosystem? That's why we don't just sponsor events in McKinney. We also sponsor events across the Metroplex or across the country or even in other countries, because we want to help lift the whole innovation ecosystem, because startups are going to benefit, investors are going to benefit, ecosystem players, accelerators. These are all going to benefit if we can match the right people. And I think that all goes back to what made McKinney so strong, and that's that focused on building relationships.
Yeah.
Even as a city, even as an EDC, even as the innovation exchange, we care about relationships.
Well, hello and welcome to our new McKinney Momentum Podcast studio, new branding, new season, new studio, all that fun stuff. I'm Luke Gajary, the marketing and social media manager here for the McKinney Economic Development Corporation. And I'm joined today by a new-ish member of our team, Troy Billett. Troy, welcome. Thanks for jumping on.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Many people tuning in have probably seen the fruits of your work and have seen you, and you've been active. You've been on the team since
May
last year. And you're overseeing our Innovation Fund program, and there's more to this we'll dive into. I want to just kind of introduce you to our broader community, and then also, who is Troy? Like, introduce us to Troy. Tell us your story, how you've ended up where you're at, why McKinney, how did you land here on this team, and what are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my professional journey started in university in Switzerland. That's when I started my first company. Actually, my cousin in Colombia and his friends were a lot cheaper software developers than in the US and Europe at the time.
Sure.
So we, started an outsourcing firm. And then when I sold that, I actually moved to Boston to work for Techstars, which was at the time the biggest accelerator in the world for startups. And I joined one of their portfolio companies. We raised a couple million and did projects all over the world. It was more product focused rather than services focused. And so once that wasn't really a startup anymore, I ended up coming back to the Metroplex here because this is where I originally grew up.
Okay.
And I worked for a VC, actually a couple of VCs, before I started to meet the team at the McKinney EDC. And I was meeting with them because I was referring startups to the Innovation Fund program. And I thought it was a great opportunity to help scale early stage companies. And they ended up needing a new role to manage the Innovation Fund. And so I kind of took a leap of faith, switching over to the publicly funded local government instead of the hardcore VC world. And it was a great transition. I'm so happy that I made it because now I get to focus even more on helping founders.
That's cool. So you're in this VC world. You're working in the startup ecosystem in North Texas, and you kind of know about McKinney, and you've seen us. You said you're feeding companies to McKinney at the time. And then you said something interesting that you wanted more of a focus on the founder. Mm-hmm. So in local government and innovation aren't always mentioned in the same sentence. So what made McKinney an attractive option to leave kind of what you had known into, I mean, like I said, local government and innovation are not always closely related. So what made it exciting for you to work for the city of McKinney essentially?
Well, there's a challenge with VC or even being a funder or even being a founder. You have to focus a lot on investors. You have to raise money so that you can deploy money. But from the local government perspective, I saw that the city of McKinney was extremely unique because I never saw any other city in the world that had funding for early stage companies. And so I took that leap of faith because McKinney was different, because McKinney cared so much about innovation that they were willing to put their money where their mouth is, basically.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to worry about raising from investors because that might consume half or 30% at least of your time if you're working in VC or if you're a founder. And so I could focus 100% on the ecosystem and helping founders.
Yeah. So you hit the ground running. You joined, we had the Byron Nelson, I think it was like your first day, which is a crazy event that we host here at McKinney and meeting all kinds of people. And then a couple weeks later, together we went to Web Summit Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken. And just, again, hit the ground running, meeting with investors, meeting with founders. What did you explain the Innovation Fund as you came into it, and then we'll kind of get into some of the evolution of the program and expansion of it. So what was the program when you came into it, and how have you seen it evolve and change during your time?
So my initial perception of it was, oh, this is like a local program that helps local founders. But when I joined, I was at the Byron Nelson. There's people from all over the world coming to McKinney. And then I went to Vancouver and I was meeting people who had already heard of McKinney, already heard of the Innovation Fund. So we did have some brand recognition, even on the global stage, which I was excited about and encouraged by, but it was just the Innovation Fund.
Right.
Like McKinney was known for recruiting and funding startups to the region, and we've significantly grown from that because instead of just focusing on that one, let's call it pillar of innovation, which is the Innovation Fund, we've added 12 pillars of innovation. So we have a whole support ecosystem for founders rather than just capital. And I think that's really critical because a lot of startups don't need capital. They're self-funded. They've already raised a significant round, or they come from VC already. So they need connections to customers. They need connections to the amazing talent pool from the amazing universities in the Metroplex. They need
pilot program opportunities.
Yes, exactly. And so we had pilots with city departments. But now, because those went so well, we have corporates asking us, hey, do you have great technologies that we should be trying out that could make us more competitive, that could help us scale beyond our current status? And that's the biggest opportunity, because I always tell founders, like, revenue is number one. Yes, fundraising is important, talent's important, but if you don't have revenue, you don't have a company.
That's it. That's good. Imagine that. So Innovation Fund starts, it's at the time you joined, maybe 5 years in, it's a $50,000 to $200,000 grant program, takes no equity, just asks that companies are relocated or located, headquartered in McKinney, right? A couple of employees. So that's when you started. That's what the Innovation Fund was.
Exactly.
And that still exists, but now we've added a layer of 11 other programs. Because what I saw from my seat was, okay, we give a check to a startup. They're sitting there going, thanks, now what? Right? Who do I connect with? Where are my people? Is there events I can plug into? Is there venture capitalists? Where do I rent an office space from? Like, if they're new to McKinney, they need more than just a check, which a check is a great place to start. But there's other layers to this. So now we've introduced the Innovation Exchange, which is kind of a new way to formalize these partnerships, these relationships, these events. And the Innovation Fund doesn't just become the one facet of the innovation arm of the McKinney EDC. It becomes one pillar of 12 facets of the McKinney EDC. Is that kind of the short elevator pitch version? What else interesting about the exchange do we need to dive into?
I think the 12 pillars are easily categorized in three groups. One is the investments. So how do we proctor deals between VCs and startups, but also how do we deploy capital into the community? And then how do we attract capital to the community? Also, we have the community element, which is like events, workforce, talent, people who care about innovation or want to work in innovation. And then we have partnerships. And partnerships could mean, potential pilots with corporates or the city, the fire department, the police department. It could also mean our partnerships internationally. So how do we partner with European VCs so once they invest in a company, we can help them establish their first office in the U.S. Right here in McKinney. And we've done that successfully, and so we have a track record that we're building on. Or is it the collective, which is like our local partnerships and local VCs that are already investing in this region? So it's almost like DFW is so spread out as a metroplex that there's a mismatch of people that really should be connected and it could be a win-win partnership, but they just haven't met each other yet. Right? So how do we create that mesh that creates a more vibrant startup ecosystem? That's why we don't just sponsor events in McKinney. We also sponsor events across the Metroplex or across the country or even in other countries because we want to help lift the whole innovation ecosystem because startups are going to benefit, investors are going to benefit, ecosystem players, accelerators. These are all going to benefit if we can match the right people. And I think that all goes back to what made McKinney so strong, and that's that focused on building relationships.
Yeah.
Even as a city, even as an EDC, even as the innovation exchange, we care about relationships.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I've heard it said that there's two ways to do business, either a transactional way or a relational way, and I think we're definitely seeing a lean into culturally, as a workforce, more relational, but then also just our team is getting a lot better at, hey, not just here's a check, go make your company successful, but like, hey, let's lock arms and partner, whether or not this leads to any direct exchange of money or not, right? And that's huge. I think that really matters. And to your point earlier about DFW being spread out and us just trying to kind of plant our flag so people know we're here. I talked to a software developer actually on this podcast a couple of years ago who was out of Silicon Valley, made a company in the early 2000s in the dot-com boom, exited, made a ton of money, and talked about Silicon Valley. You walk into any coffee shop and you immediately overlap with an investor or a founder or somebody who has exited 3 successful companies. And here you can find that. You just have to be a little more intentional. It's not you can just walk into any coffee shop in DFW and find a founder. It's a little more pocketed. And so I think we're trying to expand those pockets a little bit. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and help them connect with each other. If it's, some entrepreneurial initiative at TCU, is a founder here aware of that? Or if it's an internship program at SMU that funds, internship salaries for startups so that the startups don't have to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many unique, amazing programs across the Metroplex, and I just want them to be accessible.
Right.
Because I understand how hard it is to be a founder.
Yeah.
And to raise capital. And I think that's what's needed. That's what was needed on this team, because it's hard to understand the day-to-day struggle of a founder if you haven't been a founder before.
Right.
But also understanding what investors want to see and what's needed, what do you need to accomplish before even approaching them, so you're not running around in circles trying to raise money when you're not going to get that yes anyways, right? You're not at the right stage. You don't have the right traction. And so sitting on both sides of the table, I think we can more effectively build this ecosystem across the Metroplex. I think we see attracting, startups is important, but also attracting capital. And then I call it like the revolving fund of innovation. We want to see that, okay, sure, we raise capital as founders and then we maybe have an exit as a founder, but are we reinvesting that capital in innovation and new technology? Are they giving back to the community? That's the key, where you have, a prosperous loop of innovation, because people aren't just exiting and leaving, they're reinvesting that capital. And that's the most powerful thing that can happen. So that's what the 12 pillars intend to do, is keep people in the cycle of innovation regardless of what stage they're at. If they're just looking at working for a startup because they just graduated and they want to learn what it's like, or they've already exited 3 companies and they're just giving back to the community as a mentor, as an advisor, as an investor. It doesn't matter what stage you are in your career, you can be a part of this ecosystem now.
Yeah, or anywhere in between. Like, that's really good. And I'll go back to that for a second, the innovation fund piece. Maybe there's someone watching that's going, I have an idea, I want to apply for the innovation fund, I'm kind of in that early stage of startup. Where should I start? Maybe I'm not quite ready to apply for the fund, but I want to kind of get my foot in the door, get to know some folks, kind of figure out my next steps. What should I be doing right now?
I think the easiest way to get engaged is through one of our pillars is meetups, and we have a quarterly innovation unwind where it's a public event. You can come meet other founders, you can meet investors, ecosystem players that really care about innovation and want to connect with other people who care about innovation. And I think that's the best place to start, because you can hear from other people that are already in the community. Hey, what has this done for them, and what does the future look like, and is it positive up here in McKinney? Obviously, I'm going to say it's positive.
Yeah.
I think it's different hearing it from other people in the ecosystem.
Yeah, come and see for yourself, how people are experiencing it. And then what is is there any focus industry-wise of certain types of startups or products that do better applying for the fund or getting in the ecosystem versus others? What are some things we look for as a program?
I mean, McKinney, because of its high quality of life, is a great place for any company or anyone to live in.
Yeah.
But our innovation exchange focuses on technology companies. So those are the hard guardrails we have. It needs to be a technology company. However, we see a variety of stages applying, anywhere from pre-seed all the way to Series A plus, because we've created these kind of tiers of, okay, depending on what stage you are, you might be able to unlock more or less capital. But regardless, we have an ecosystem that can support you and help you get to that next level. But for the innovation fund specifically, especially that entry level grant of 50 to 200K, we like to see some early traction in the market. Maybe you have a wait list of potential customers, or you have, a few early customers, maybe some letters of intent. Maybe you've raised a little bit of angel funding or friends and family round. That's kind of the entry level. But now that we've launched a follow-on of 500K and some later stage funding, I think it's interesting if you're beyond that point to start looking and start seeing if this is the right place for your company.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the ways to get involved, again, are just bigger than money, but to know like, hey, here's a few. I remember we had somebody once who was starting a coffee shop in McKinney, and he came in with a bunch of questions asking about the innovation fund, and it's like, well, sorry, legally there's certain types of projects that we can incentivize and offer funding for, and there's other types we can't. And I'm sure your coffee's amazing, but unfortunately, we're looking for technology companies. However, there's other ways to engagement. Open your coffee shop up to host innovation events or whatever. So I think I like to tell people it's very relational and conversational. We don't necessarily have a one-page playbook that here's all the check boxes of how to get involved. Let's find a fit for you and see how we can partner together to help everybody win.
Yeah, a great example of this is the innovation exchange physical innovation space.
Right.
And that space, we're planning to open that later this year. But if you're an international founder looking to relocate to the U.S., it's a great soft landing because maybe you don't know where in the Metroplex you actually want to sit your office, right? And so this could be like a 3-month soft landing for you to get to know the region, meet some local investors that are in the space as well. So yeah, if you're a VC, then let's talk about getting you some space in this innovation physical office. Or if you're a corporate that's looking to sell services to founders or provide support to startups, then maybe you could become a sponsor of the space. If you're a university, maybe you want to hold a training course on how to apply to SBIRs or information about your workforce or the talent that you're developing at your university, because founders need to be aware of this, right? There's always so many opportunities across industries of educational content that we can provide in the physical innovation space. So regardless of what you're doing, if you care about innovation, there's probably a way that we can partner and help more founders, help investors, and we're so excited for the future of the innovation exchange.
That's so good. I'm glad you brought up the physical space. And every time you talk about one of these ideas, we could go down a rabbit hole and almost just do an episode about that. Like, let's talk about the universities and let's talk about workforce development. Unfortunately, we try to keep these episodes pretty short, but I know there's a lot of info on our site. uniquemckinney.com/ix is where we have a lot of information, and people can dive into more. There's so many. This new structure, I've just seen you bring so much structure and life to this side of the EDC. And as we interview founders and we get more content around this idea, I think people have known about the Innovation Fund for a while, but they now need to know, man, there's a new face to this thing. There's a whole new structure to this. And props to you, to our board of directors, our president, Mike Kowski, to have all the foresight to put up the framework for this. So it's super exciting, and if people aren't plugged in, they need to be. I want to land the plane. I want to ask you a few rapid-fire questions. This is just kind of first thing that pops into your head, semi-personal stuff, just to get to know Troy a little bit, and then we'll finish out here, unless you think there's anything else we need to hit on. But I want to know about the best meal you've ever eaten.
Probably the best meal I've ever eaten is one I do not recall what it was. I mean, it was definitely pasta, but I was in Italy.
Okay.
I was visiting Milan because I would fly into Milan and then go up to my university, which was actually in the southern part of Switzerland. But one time I was there and It was evening, and I was trying to stay awake because, jet lag is horrible.
Oh,
right?
yeah, of course.
But I had this amazing, red sauce pasta at some random restaurant I just walked into.
Yeah.
Best meal I've ever had. Never found that restaurant again. Never found the recipe. Never got to know, what it was really built on. But, that was the best meal I ever had. I still think about it even today.
You just close your eyes at night and dream about that meal, but can't find it again.
Yes.
Oh, that's infuriating,
Yes.
but amazing at the same time. Tell me, what was your first job?
So, my first job...
Even we had a founder on once that talked about mowing yards in the neighborhood, that kind of thing.
So, my dad was a handyman. He would work on houses and fix them up. And so the one that sticks in my mind the most is a roofing project we had. So someone was like, hey, I need my roof changed. I need a new roof. And so I remember, Texas heat, 100 degrees, middle of the summer, going up on the roof and ripping off shingles. And that took us probably a whole weekend to complete that. But yeah, I started with that, and I think I vowed to do something in software because I felt like it would be easier on my body.
I will sit in an office with air conditioning and work at a computer. Yeah, I get that. That's formative for sure.
Luckily that's worked out.
Now, what time of day are you most productive?
So I cannot do mornings very well.
Okay.
So I'll work all night.
Yeah.
But it's always a struggle to get up in the morning.
Yeah. So you're more of a night owl. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good to know. Stuck on a desert island, you can take 3 movies with you. What are they?
So one of my favorite films is actually a German film called Lore.
Okay.
Lore. I'm not sure about 2 others.
Yeah, we can just keep it at 1 if that stands out enough.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Okay, Lore it is.
Woody Allen film.
Okay,
maybe.
yeah.
That's about it. Yeah.
Fair enough. Same question, but with books. You can take 3 books with you.
I would definitely take some Shakespeare. I don't know if that qualifies as a book.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because I know I won't get bored of it.
That's true. Okay.
Trying to pick it apart. Yeah, I think I would probably take a couple of Fitzgerald books.
Okay.
I really like him.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd get tired of that either.
Okay, good to know. Tell me about a bucket list travel destination. Somewhere you got to go before you kick the bucket.
Yeah, I really want to go to southern France.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been talking about it ever since we started dating many years ago, but we just never taken the trip, so got to do it.
I got you. I'm with you on that one. And then finally, if you weren't doing this job, what else would you be doing? Well, is there anything else that I mean, you started off obviously not roofing, but if you're I don't just mean this job, I mean anything in the innovation or startup space. If you weren't doing any of this, what would you be doing?
Yeah, I think I'd probably be working on a new company if I felt that it was a significant opportunity. I think it would be hard to say no if I saw the opportunity. And other than that, probably starting a VC and deploying capital for founders. So very similar, but I think that social enterprise perspective of doing well by doing good is something that has always resonated with me since I was a kid. And so, yes, it would either be investing in founders that were doing impactful projects, or it would be doing an impactful project myself. Yeah.
I read the book by the founder of Tom Shoes, and that kind of shifted that, this is not just a cool marketing technique. This is actually they are doing some good stuff. Same thing, Warby Parker, buy a pair, give a pair, glasses, charity water, stuff like that. That's just huge. So,
well, at the end of the day, as a CEO, as a founder, you have to inspire people to walk the path with you, right? And so whether it's the investors or employees or partners, if you're going towards something good, it's a lot easier to have people join you because they get to see that good too for themselves.
Yeah, and the realization there's more to this than money. Like
Exactly.
there's such a craving right now for purpose. People want to feel that their work matters, their lives matter, that they're wired for something beyond just a big paycheck.
Exactly.
And I think that's key. I love that. What a way to end it. That's great. Is there anything else we didn't hit on regarding you, regarding the Innovation Exchange that you think is important to bring up? And how can people connect with you, LinkedIn or otherwise?
I think, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a quick message if you want to learn more about the ecosystem. However, if you're a founder and you want to check right away, just go to our Innovation Fund or Innovation Exchange page and take the pre-screen test.
Yeah.
It takes 30 seconds, and you can find out right away if you should continue to the full application or if maybe you should hold off a little bit and get a little bit more traction.
Yeah, love that. Easy. We want the on-ramp to be as easy as possible, but we also want to make sure you got the right things set up to be successful in this program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Dan, thanks for coming. This has been awesome. And if you're watching and you want to learn more, again, links will be in the description of this episode. And stay tuned for another great episode of the McKinney Momentum Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere else. Thanks again for watching.